All right, welcome back to the unofficial review. I'm Seeds, and this is my football review. Today, I want to be talking about officiating again. In the first two videos I talked about, I'm probably going to visit this conversation again. And lo and behold, I want to say we're week 11, and we're back at it. And it's funny because I remember, I can't remember exactly which week or what episode, but I just remember talking about how to watch the back end of the season for bad calls because of playoff implications. What do you know? I got three specific games, and I know that there's more. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch them all, but I know there's more. But anyhow, I'm going to start off with the officiating, how the officiating has been, once again, helping the bigger markets. So unfortunately, for my sake and the Seahawks Nation, we're going to start off with Bills versus the Seahawks. Some people might know what I'm talking about with this. And again, it was just one of those things where we're getting up to halftime. Bills about ready to kick a field goal. There's that whole incident with Richard Sherman jumping off sides and all that controversy and so forth. But the biggest part of it, and again, I would bring this up, is that after this all debacle happened, I can't remember exactly in what circumstance, but again, there's the officials and they're on the side and they're talking for who knows how long about who knows what, right? And the thing that gets me about all these situations is that there's these discussions and so forth, but none of us are watching. That's the thing that gets me about all these shady calls, the blatant shady calls, and if they're really on the level, why is it that we don't see the officials talking? Show me the explanation of them talking and them pointing back and forth and trying to collect what they saw or what they wanted to see. Anyhow, so Bills, all right, you're given 5 seconds to kick the field goal. There's an official putting his hand over the ball, and there's a point where because they're resetting after the whole debacle with the penalty and so forth. So they're covering the ball because then they make sure both sides are ready, and then they step off of it. Well, they never reset the clock, and this goes back to what I talked about with the clock gate, right? Where the Patriots got more time to kick a field goal. Well, the Bills, being a small market, got less. They got significantly less. They got, I want to say it was 20 seconds less than they should have to kick that field goal. Then the officials went on to say delay of game. Again, this is one of those things where how in the hell does that happen if this isn't being orchestrated, so to speak? If the NFL is not, in fact, having these officials help certain organizations and so forth, how is that possible? How can an entire field of officials be like, yo, you gave him 5 seconds. How does not one person do that? How does not one person notice? We didn't even kind of give them enough time. Again, let's take it a step further. How in the world does New York not buzz in their ear? Because they do have a headset. They are listening. They could just, oh, hey, you dumbasses. You gave him 5 seconds. Yeah, reset the clock, you idiots. All right, kick it again. How do they not do that? It's Monday Night Football. It's not like there's 4 games going on. How do you miss that? Again, the official, or the VP of Officiating, Dean Blandino, that sack of shit, he said himself, oh yeah, they can tell them, but they don't like to intervene if they don't need. Really? For a field goal right after that, the offsides, that controversy or whatever, you're telling me not one of you jackasses were sitting there and was like, we gave them 5 seconds, and then we delayed of game them, no less. We gave them a penalty because of ourselves. And that's the thing, is if they gave them 15 seconds, and they had to reset it properly, and they lost like 10 seconds, I could see that falling through the cracks a little bit. But 5 seconds? I mean, it was one of those things where the guy's getting ready, he steps back, delay a game, and it's like it just was so asinine because it was like, how many millions of us saw that happen? In the comfort of our own homes, we knew that they messed it up. But you're telling me the officials, and this is all they do for a living, this is what they get paid to do, you're telling me the officials that are sitting in New York who are watching this with 35 cameras around them, you're telling me that the VP of officiating all see this play out, and not one of those bastards steps up and says what happened? They just allow it to stand? As a Seahawks fan, I felt that was the officials helping us, preventing them from getting a field goal, and helping us win the game. Obviously, it was at the end of the half, so it didn't determine anything. To me, that's probably that's why they did it, was it wasn't to be too transparent. But again, it was just one of those things where, to me, it seemed very blatant that that's what their agenda was to, in fact, prevent the Bills from getting 3 points and give us a better chance of winning the game. And what do you know? We won the game. Now, granted, it was more than 3 points, but there were other circumstances and so forth. But again, that was one of those things where, as a Hawk fan, I was like, what's going on? They got screwed. That, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, Seahawks would not have gotten that freaking help. We were a smaller market and so forth. But again, what have we been doing the last few years? We make playoffs, going to Super Bowls and so forth. And there's your calls. What have the Bills been doing? They're notorious. I think they lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. And that was back in the, late 80s, early 90s? Anyhow, so let's go to the next one. 2 weeks ago, or the following week, Broncos Saints. Y'all know what I'm going to bring up, right? The foot stepping out. and then the traditional dirty officiating, we couldn't tell whether or not. I mean, how I put it, as far as the whole white shoes and white sidelines, because that's the thing. So, all right, so what happens is they block the field goal. One of the guys catches the ball, runs off the sidelines. Ooh, touchdown, or not touchdown, 2 points. That's right. It was a block extra point. Anyhow, so they block it, and then there's this controversial point where there's the line, and they're wondering whether or not he stepped out. And they're like, it looks like he did, but the problem is this guy's got white shoes, and there's white sidelines. And I'm like, really? Is this the first NFL player to be wearing white shoes? No, they've lots of them have white cleats. And again, too, especially at a Color Rush game, or was it Color Rush? I think it was a Color Rush game. Anyhow, because I want to say they were wearing mostly white. Anyhow, but my biggest thing about it all is, all right, so they do the traditional, we didn't have enough evidence to prove that he stepped out. And I'm just like, all right, half his foot has disappeared into the white. So unless it went to a black hole, guess what? He stepped out. It's one of those things where just because you can't see the outline of his shoe doesn't mean it's in fact not out. If half of it's missing in a shot, hence like this, guess what? It's out. Doesn't mean it. It was just, again, too, look at the Saints. Look at Denver. Who are the Saints? They're hoping for a playoff spot. I think that they're like 5-6 or something. They haven't been to Super Bowl since what, 08, 09? And again, too, who's Denver? They just won the Super Bowl last year. They went to the Super Bowl 2 years before that. They sound like a bigger market. Again, where does the call go? Because that was the thing. Was as far as the whole officiating, that and the whole, we don't have enough evidence. Take a shot when his foot is in bounds. Put it on the image of what you can't see. Is half it in the white? Yes, that means he's out of bounds. It's blatant. We all knew it. The guys on the sidelines, the guy who returned it, who got the 2 points, who was on Denver's team, said, I can't believe that was a horrible call. He said it himself. How does that happen if there's not an agenda? Explain it to me. It's just a happy accident that happened to help Denver out? That they happen to be a bigger market? I don't think so. This is not an indictment on the Denver Broncos. This is not an indictment on the Seahawks. This is an indictment on the NFL helping these bigger markets. And that's one of the things that sucks as a Hawk fan, is I don't like that. I don't like people corking the bat for us. I want to win that was the thing I was terrified going to Super Bowl 48 because we were the smaller market. And I was afraid that we were going to get screwed out of calls. So that was the thing, was that now for my team to be doing this to other smaller markets, I'm like, that used to be my team. And so that's why I'm not cool with it, is that it's not fair. It's one of those things where, and that's the thing too for being one of those bigger market teams, is it kind of empties the win category, so to speak. I mean, I say it empties it, but it just makes that win less enjoyable. That was the thing that was so awesome about Super Bowl 48, was that we beat the living hell out of them. And we certainly didn't get any help from the officials because, as we know, again, we were the smaller market. I mean, I think there was a point in Super Bowl 48 where Demaryius Thomas actually had offensive pass interference on Richard Sherman, but there was a point where we had beaten him so severely, the officials were just kind of like, whatever, I'm not going to freaking call it on. Okay, whatever, I don't care about those no calls. But when you're helping certain teams out, and you're not allowing these smaller markets to step up and rise up and essentially upset, it's one of those things where I imagine against Tampa Bay the other day, if we'd had an opportunity to get a shady call our way and help us win that game in Seattle against Tampa Bay, they probably would have done it. I put good money on that bet. Again, let's follow the third week. Okay, so this is the third week in a row. Again, I'm not watching all the games. I bet you anything there's at least a half a dozen more games that are in this shady category of obviousness. So we're going to talk about Texans-Raiders. And that's one of the things, too, where you're seeing bigger markets that are potentially bigger markets. They're not even necessarily rock-hard established bigger markets that are getting help. Again, Texans-Raiders. This is I want to say, I can't remember if it was the final drive for the Texans, but the Texans were driving, and I want to say there was like 4 minutes left or maybe 3 or 4 minutes left in some change or whatever. But they were, I want to say around the 40-ish. But there's a point where it's like 3rd and 1, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? And they get the first down. Well, based on the officials, nope, didn't. Give it another try. Go for it. 4th down. Get it again. Nope. Turnover on downs. Give it to the Texans or give it to the Raiders. Again, it was one of those things where, I've talked, again, to my buddies who are Raider fans, and they're just kind of like, what the hell was that? They got it twice. They got 2 first downs twice. And not only didn't they give them to them, they turned it over on downs, gave it to Oakland Raiders. Oakland Raiders drove down, scored. Game over. Again, who's the bigger market? They're referring to the Texans as the worst 6-3 team heading into that game. Oakland Nation is coming up. They are coming in to become one of those top top handful of teams that are going to be competing for Super Bowls for years to come. I really think that the Raiders are. But again, it's one of those things where Monday Night Football, again, just blatant bad calls where we all see something and these collective officials see something else. And again, how is that possible? How is it that all these teams, these bigger market teams, just happen to coincidentally get the BS blatant calls? It's just one of those things where it does kind of irritate me when people have the arrogance to say, "Oh, that's it's not rigged, whatever." That just stuff happens. Really, week in and week out, bigger markets get the calls. I remember being a smaller market team, and I remember that not happening ever for my team. And then we became a bigger market team, and what do you know? You get big blatant calls. I would say and so it's just one of those things where, again, time and again, bad officiating, and it's not that it's that they don't know how to do their job. It's that they do know how to do their job, and that, again, I mean, like I said, if this isn't part of an orchestration, explain it to me. And that's one of the things I'm saying. Watch out, because I think that watch out the officiating, especially watch out. I would say end of season playoffs even as well. Honestly, I think that the NFL is going to really want. And this is just throwing us out there. I really think that they're going to want Raiders versus Patriots in the AFC Championship and Cowboys versus the Seahawks in the NFC Championship. Watch out for some bad calls in games that could orchestrate that, because I think that those are probably the biggest matchups that the NFL could coincidentally have. I'm not saying, and if it ends up being that way, okay. It's one of those things where it could potentially just happen that way. But again, I've seen in the past, and again, I've seen in playoff games where the NFL has helped certain teams. And again, it's all about the money for them. And so, again, you're going to look at certain markets, you're going to look at certain matchups. They're going to create more money for them. But again, as I discussed, or at the beginning of the year, I talked about past games in past years, preseason games and so forth. I said, watch out, it's going to happen back end of the year. And 3 weeks in a row, I've seen 3 blatant, horrible bad calls that have helped bigger markets win games. And again, this is I think it's going to just probably keep going unless these teams happen to just win on their own volition, which that's the thing that they do a lot of, and that's why they get these calls. But that's the thing is that I think that all these bigger markets would have at least a couple more losses under the belt the last few years if they're being called honestly. Anyhow, again, I imagine we're going to be visiting this officiating problem down the weeks to come, and again, especially in the playoffs. But yes, lots of I'm excited. There's lots to be seen. We'll be talking to you soon. This is Seeds with the Unofficial Review. Just signing off.